All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our partner showcase. Sorry that we are delayed today, but you know what they say, late but worth the wait. So you guys are in for a awesome presentation today with GoodMaps. This is our partner showcase. We are going to talk about how GoodMaps enhances accessibility with indoor navigation. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kevin Klein before that. This is Amanda Dennis. I am the engagement specialist here at APH, and I am just the host here. I am not the star of the show. So let's go ahead and introduce Kevin Klein. He is the star of the show today. Kevin is a dedicated community engagement representative at GoodMaps, where he's been making a significant impact for the past year. As a blind individual, Kevin brings unique insights to his role, focusing on user engagement, product feedback, and also accessibility testing. He works closely with the blindness community, ensuring that GoodMaps products meet their specific needs. Kevin's passion for accessible technology and his background from Western Kentucky University makes him an invaluable part of the team. His work bridges the gap between innovative navigation solutions and the visually impaired community, championing inclusivity and also independence. And through his efforts, Kevin is helping to shape a more accessible future for everybody. So while we're getting started with getting the presentation on the screen so that you guys can see that, I also want to go over some of the ground rules for today. This webinar is not an ACD REP credit webinar, so you will not be receiving that today because it is a partner showcase. There will be some closed captioning available, and of course, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to type this in the chat. I think this is one of our first webinars with GoodMaps, so the more questions, the better. We may not address them right away, but we will definitely get to them by the end of this webinar and presentation. So Kevin, I guess when you guys are ready, you can take it away.
Awesome. I'm not sure if we got the
Yeah,
PowerPoint up and
we've got
running,
it
but
up
cool.
and running.
All right. Well, appreciate you having us on today. We've got Evelyn, our VP of Partnerships, going to be assisting with PowerPoint for me today. I'm always needing a little assist here and there. So I have been with the team a little over a year now, going on a year and a half. And as pointed out, I lost my vision about 6 years ago. So it's pretty easy to talk about things that help me, every time I need it. So little background about GoodMaps. So GoodMaps started out of American Printing House for the Blind, actually, about 5.5 years ago. I think it started out of the warehouse. So we went from 2 or 3 employees about 6 years ago to a team of over 30 now, and a global team, if you will, as well. So our goal is to provide indoor accessible navigation. The original goal was to provide accessible navigation for the blind and low vision, and we created an application called GoodMaps Explorer. So GoodMaps Explorer has been sunsetted out now, and we are moving on to bigger and better things with the same accessibility and better for the blind and low vision, but also for everyone else. So we're looking at more inclusive environments. We're looking at accessibility for the blind and low vision, but also for the deaf and low hearing, neurodiverse, and wheelchair users, people who don't want to take the stairs and things like that. So I'll dig a little bit more deep into that here shortly. Let's see here. But a lot of the things that people think about indoor navigation is why need it. There is a problem. I cannot walk into an airport or a museum or university and know where I'm going. Really, I can't do that with any building. You don't, if you're a driver, you're not driving to another city without a map, more than likely. Same concept for us as individuals walking into a new space or even a big space that we go to often. We're looking at trying to provide turn by turn directions to anyone and everyone into an indoor space. And, we're trying to do that in a variety of types of locations, not just airports, not just universities, not just rail, but anywhere that someone might seem fit. You've probably used our previous application, if not heard of it. GoodMaps Explorer Well, we've increased the accuracy, we've increased the efficiency, the rate that it's getting your position, things of that nature, but also, as I said, the accessibility for everyone. We're doing this by computer vision models, no installation of beacons, nothing of that nature. We're coming into these buildings and we are scanning the building using LiDAR and then training our computer vision models and then creating the map. So this actually is getting individuals to their locations within about 2 feet. About 80% of the time, we're within a meter, and majority of the time is less than that. So we're looking to provide assistance with navigation with the most accuracy as possible. We know of other applications and other services that are helpful, but we're trying to be as precise that we can. I'm not sure.
Uh, the Kevin, this next slide is just talking about kind of the features in the new GoodMaps app for different audiences.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I said, the audible commands are still there, but what that looks like is, of course, as a blind individual, I'm using a screen reader, a voiceover or a talkback on Android. And if you're able to use that, you should be able to use our application. So for the blind low vision, I pull up my phone, I get my position, and then it's going to once I select my destination, I'm going to hear audio commands throughout the building. It's going to tell me, in 3 feet, take a right. You're 65 feet from your destination, and continuously go turn by turn until I have arrived within 2 feet. And some of the new accessibility features that have happened in the last few months actually with the blind low vision is we are now giving haptics such as vibrations when you are off your course. So, imagine like the rumble strips on a highway. If you pass over that white line, it's going to let you know. So we're trying to do the same thing with the turn by turn directions through the building. And that's for, the blind low vision, but also for the deaf, low hearing, neurodiverse, really the general public. We've added augmented reality. So there are now arrows as you're walking through the building, and there's also more text as well. You're able to kind of lower the phone a little bit in a texting position as you're going through your route, or you can raise it up for the augmented reality. That's very helpful for the deaf and neurodiverse. If you're, for instance, in an airport, there's not always someone there to be able to assist in communicating with you, knowing where to go, things like that. If you're in a university, there may not be anyone nearby. So it's really helpful for people with those disabilities, or anxiety, or really just someone who doesn't want to speak to another person, because we've all been there, having a rough day, or just more introverted. So being able to pull up your phone and look for a destination and go on your way. So another accessibility feature that we've added is step-free routing. So step-free routing is helpful for people who are in wheelchairs, but also people who just don't want to take the stairs, more mobility impaired, people with strollers, luggage, things like that. You can be on, the fifth floor and want to go to the second, and it's going to take you to the nearest elevator and skip all stairs in that route. So with this, we're trying to, cover all of our bases in the best ways possible. And also another way to make it more inclusive, we're adding more languages. So as you'll maybe have known, we didn't have that many to start off with. We only had a handful. We've got 6 right now. We're looking at 12 by the end of the first quarter of this coming up year.
Awesome. And then our the next slide is just about, has anyone on the webinar used a navigation product before, or indoor navigation app?
Yes. So right now we have a poll question and we'd love you guys to be able to answer that. So have you used an indoor navigation app that was accessible in the past? And it's just a yes or no. And I'll leave that open for a minute and then I will share the results.
We'll say if it's a no, we got to get that changed. you know. Gotta
Yes.
All
get
right.
good maps downloaded.
It looks like it was a definite no. There was no yes. So
Hey, well, that's perfect. We'll try and change that today or in the near future.
And then Kevin, the next slide, let's see. Just talking about kind of what's coming with GoodMaps with the additional functionality, GTFS, the web plugin, all those good things.
Yeah, so of course our number one goal is accessibility, but let's add more features to that. So, we are going to be accessible. I kind of want to make it to our company's point of it's not a question about accessibility, it's knowing that we're going to be accessible and then adding a great experience for all users. And that's in many different types of places, whether it's transit, education, healthcare, things like that. So some of these features are going to cover, some of those, but also, add more to more demographics, such as, we're adding real-time feeds to rail stations, knowing when, for instance, Sound Transit's one of our partners in Seattle, and you're able to pull up the GoodMaps application and get, that timing of your next train, if it's delayed, which platform, all types of things like that. So that's one big one with rail. Another one is an API with elevators and escalators. So that's knowing, it's communicating with our systems, knowing when the escalators and elevators are down. So those routes to those will automatically be, cut off and turned off for the time being, things like that. Another big one for universities and healthcare and even airports and rail is connected maps. So you all said you haven't used many indoor navigation systems, and that's okay. But I'm sure you use some outdoors, and we know GPS isn't always perfect by any means with accuracy. So I don't necessarily want to pull up a different application when I'm going from one mapped out building to the next. So we're now changing that to where you can use Good Maps indoor navigation from a mapped out building to another nearby mapped out building. So this is a huge ordeal on campuses. So that's not just education, but obviously includes it as well. We're doing some testing with Columbia's Teachers College in Manhattan, also I believe Perkins and a couple other education systems. We're hoping to translate that into other places like airports, on the outside of airports, in the parking garage, and Uber and Lyft pickups, things like that. Also healthcare in the near future as well. So connected maps is a large one for that, and also something that's coming up in Q1 is also private versus public maps, to where we're looking at turning parts of a building into a private login, or having a fully private map to where it's not open to the public. That's also a big security thing for certain corporate companies, things like that, back ends of buildings that don't necessarily need me or you going into. We're able to turn that on and off come soon. And then another big one, which is actually my favorite feature of our previous app, is the look around mode. So look around mode is a blind man's dream, if you will. So I can hold my phone up and kind of go in a circle, and it'll announce everything in front of me and how far it'll be, and how long it'll take me to go there. So if I walk into an airport, or somewhere with multiple coffee shops, for instance, I'd be able to see, well, there's Dunkin', but there's Starbucks. Which one am I wanting to go to today? And I can do that in a matter of seconds without having to go to the search bar or directory of our application. Those are a couple of things that we're working on internally, but also what we're looking at in the future with scanning. So as I had mentioned, we come in and we scan the building. We're looking at creating a mobile scanning to where we can do, smaller spaces. We can do, fixes of a map if there's been construction, things like that in a matter of, 10 or 15 minutes. So we would send out, an iPad or, to a venue that is a partner. They'd be able to scan it, send it back, and we'd be able to fix it on our end to where it's more in sync with the map. That saves a lot of time and travel, and also money. So financially, it's going to help, I think, in my mind, smaller venues come on board, and not only the big universities and airports, but also more more venues, I guess, in spaces that may not have been able to have a map before. So that's going to help spread it to where, we're creating environments all across the country and world.
Awesome. And then Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about like how does the tech actually work? What's the process for a venue? How do they get GoodMaps deployed in their space?
Definitely. So, of course, it's free for all users. Let's start with that. It's unlimited usage. Any of us can walk into the KFC Yum Center in Louisville today and use it for free with no questions asked. But that means we're partnering with the actual venue. Depending on that's different people in each venue. Sometimes it's accessibility departments, sometimes it's the innovation team, things like that. But once we get that conversation started and there is a signed contract, we will go out, we will schedule a day to go scan. This can be right down the street from our headquarters in Louisville, or this can be in Australia, which we have scanned here recently. So we will go fly out, we'll scan the building in only the matter of time it takes to walk that building, and we will leave. So, if the large space might take a day, if it's small, maybe a few hours. So once we do that, we will take it back and we will have our mapping team create the map. Um, and that takes about a month, give or take. And that'll be creating all of the points of interest, the destinations, so on and so forth. So that points of interest can be anything from a water fountain to an exit to a restroom, a Starbucks, gates, things like that. Anything that venue wants, it can be created. So once that's launched, we're going to do some internal testings, things like that, and then I'm probably going to tell everyone in the community about it. So once we've QC'd and QA'd the maps to make sure that everything is how it should be, we are going to let everyone know about it. Sometimes launch events will happen. We'll do user testings, things of that nature in the area. So we're looking at about 6 to 8 weeks of a process. And the reason for that is the travel, the creation of the map, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Um, and then so you want to talk a little bit about once it's up and running, what does the support look like for the venue? So how do we manage the data, the usage, give them all that information while they've got GoodMaps throughout the year?
Right. And so what we do is we provide a couple of options. One of those being Studio. So GoodMap Studio has been a big improvement here in the last 6 months to a year. So what that means is anything that is changing from, your office to mine, to a Wendy's to a McDonald's, that can be edited in the matter of seconds to minutes by the venue itself. So they get a personalized login to where they can go in. There's normally a handful on each team that have permissions to change whatever they'd like. We're able to basically edit right now. In the future, I think we're going to be able to add and delete, but you are able to edit those names pretty quickly and seamlessly. Another thing is with the studio, you're able to edit and add those languages I had spoken about. So if you're, near say the Mexican border, you definitely want to make sure there's both types of Spanish, the U.S. English. We've got also French Canadian, French, and Dutch at the moment, and there's also those 6 that are coming. So each venue will have many different ways to add those languages. So the way we are able to do that is with actual artificial intelligence, and we're able to get about 90% accuracy on those translations, and then it'll be reviewed by an actual person to make sure everything is correct with the translations and nothing sounds a little funny when you're reading it. But that's a big game changer when it's coming to letting everyone use the app, is being able to edit those languages and add those as you feel pleased. I want to speak a little bit on security. We're not keeping your login. There's no login for any users. First off, we're not keeping your name, your specifics, your date of birth, any of that. No Christmas or birthday cards, unfortunately, but we are going to be able to show the venues how many check-ins, how many unique users, if there's a screen reader being able to be used, things like that, which routes are used the most, which ones aren't. And this helps the venues from many different aspects. One, are people using the app? And if not, then we need to change that. But also, are people using certain routes? Maybe that route needs to be helped with accessibility a little bit. Which exits are being used more, things like that. So each venue gets that data however often they'd like. Sometimes it's once a month, every quarter, so on and so forth. We're able to keep track of that, but we're not keeping any personal data on that back end at all.
Awesome. And then just talk, I think you shared a little bit about it, just the launch events, but what groups do you normally reach out to engage, and how do we do that?
Yeah, so as in the community engagement role, that is all that I'm trying to do is make sure that people know about our application, whether that's the blindness organizations. I speak with NFB, ACB, AFB, and try and cover all of the bases on that side, but also organizations for other disabilities as well, general public, things like that. I try and do as many you know Zoom calls for their monthly meetings, things of that nature. I will do the testings. Depending on where the location is, I'll fly out and, show the app to people. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's not hard to use, but also just to let them know that it's there. So maybe they want to come into that venue more often. There's no sense in having an application if nobody's going to use it, right? So I want to make sure that that is the case with every venue we have, at least on this side of the pond, so I can try and connect with as many people as possible. And some of that looks like launch events. For instance, we were in Louisville here recently, um, doing a kind of a relaunch event. Louisville Airport was one of our first airports, but they just rescanned and got some new updates. So we wanted to make sure the city knew about it. And of course, that being our home base with APH as well, we want to make sure that all the organizations knew about it. We were able to have students come out. They put us on a couple of TV news networks and all types of press. So, that helps everybody involved, but also the users awareness. So it's helping us, it's helping the airport, it's helping everyone around, but letting people know about it. I also here recently was able to team up with IRA and Portland Airport in Oregon to be able to do a White Cane Day event. So that was huge for us to be able to have people of all sorts come out. We had blind individuals that didn't speak English that I was able to show the application to. We had some blind deaf individuals, things like that, just letting everyone know. And along with the awareness, I'm going to always try and get to as many conferences, whether that's virtual or not, and let everybody know what we're talking about and why it's useful for everyone involved.
Awesome. You want to share a little bit about where people can find us, what type of venues, what countries, things like that, just so people can check us out in the app as well?
Definitely. So let's start on the US side of things. So anywhere from airports to rail to museums, libraries, we are now in, I think, 7 or 8 schools for the blind. We have just signed a YMCA. So we are in anything from corporate to rail to education, hopefully healthcare more soon, and things of that nature. What some of those look like airport wise, we're looking at the Louisville Airport, the Portland, Oregon Airport, Austin International Airport, Providence, Rhode Island is coming on, be launched within the next month or so. We've got some other airports such as Westchester in New York. We've got the Deer Lake in Canada, and we have a Bolivian airport of all places. So we are trying to really push for the air travel here as of late. And education wise, we've got some universities such as we've got Louisville, we've got Columbia's Teacher College, and we've got, as I mentioned, the schools for the blind, things of that nature. And we're also in Canada, we're doing a lot with CNIB to kind of reach all types of venues, such as the Deloitte building in Toronto. We've got some entertainment spaces there. We've got a new launch that we are hoping it will be soon. The Calgary airport will be a great place to find GoodMaps. So that's on this side of the country in Canada, but we also are in 11 countries. So here recently, the newest country was India, signed, I believe, last week. And that's, of course, a huge market to push in, but we are big into the rail industry in Europe. We've got Network Rail in the UK. We've got, Ireland. We've got Spain. We've got multiple others in the Europe area. We've got launches going on with Australia and some of their V line rail. And we are doing things such as malls. We've got a pilot coming in Canada as well. So really any building that you can think of over 10,000 square foot, we're looking to map it out. Now whether that conversation will go anywhere or not, that's to be determined, but we want to make sure that anybody and everyone has access to this, no matter what country they are in, and no matter what kind of space they're going into. So that's why, these language upgrades that we're doing, we were looking at 12 by end of Q1, but we want to make sure that there's more than that. So there's a lot more languages out there that need to be represented. So we're looking at possibly even up to 20 in the coming year. So trying to get this worldwide, but also in our backyard here in the United States as well.
All
Awesome.
right.
Oh, yeah.
And we have our next poll question, which is, how many have tried the new GoodMaps app, not the Explore, at an indoor location? So the options are, yes, I've used it, no, I have not used it, or this is the first time I'm hearing about it. And I'll leave it up for a second, and then I'll go over the results. You always have to wonder how many people actually have, especially viewing a webinar, and it sounds like this is a learning webinar because people have not tried it yet.
I love that. I love that. It's a lot better to introduce it, right now is better than never. So I would love to hear all the questions at the end as well. I'm sure I'll miss a few things, don't get me wrong. So
Alrighty, and then once you move to the next slide, which has to do with some of your partners.
yeah,
And
and go ahead, Evelyn.
I was just gonna say, I know you talked a little bit about, where you can find us. But this has got some of our corporate partners like Intel and some of the transit partners, since that's a big focus.
Yeah, and we've been able to partner with Intel to do some large projects in some summer games in Paris. We were able to do about 7 buildings on the USA Training Center side of things for the athletes of all kinds, the athletes and para athletes. So that was awesome. We of course have Sound Transit in Seattle, who has expanded their pilot from 2 stations to 7 or 8 now, and continuously seeing a lot of that, I guess, involvement with the partners has been the biggest thing for us. We're not able to do this alone. We're able to do this with partners such as APH and others across the globe, CNIB, and other people that are really just willing to bring us in and let us represent ourselves, in different platforms such as this, and be able to spread the needle a little bit more, I guess.
Yes, and I'll just add there, we've got logos on the screen with some of our European rail operators and UK rail operators. Accessible transit and accessible travel is a huge focus for us, just because we want people to be able to get where they need to go and have accessible journeys along the way. And then we've
Awesome.
got, oh, yep, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, and then we have our last poll question, and this one can be a really great one just to give some ideas about what you would like to see GoodMaps get into. So what type of building would you like to see indoor navigation available? And there are a plethora of options. So there are transit hubs, airports, malls, museums, university, and of course, other. So you can choose as many as you want. You don't have to choose one. And then we'll go over that in a second. Alrighty. So it looks like the winners here are airports, malls, museums, and universities. So I could see it also being valuable, obviously, in transit hubs as well, but that is some feedback.
Awesome.
And it's we all know the public transit's so different here than the UK and Europe on transit hubs, so that does make it a little bit trickier. But that's great feedback, and we love getting all that type of data because then we can also share it with our partner groups when we're trying to get more airports involved and more mall groups involved. So love having that feedback. And then Kevin, this is just the slide with the GoodMaps app link and the
Yeah.
QR code on it. Um, if you want to
Uh,
share anything about that.
Yeah, now if you all, as we've heard, not many of you all have used our application. So you may or may not be near a building, but you can find out if you'd like to download the application here. If you don't want to use the QR code, that's okay. You can search on Android or iOS. It's Good Maps, one word. One word is a big deal because if not, you might get Google. So let's go with Good Maps, one word, indoor navigation, and you're able to explore what buildings are nearest to you to farthest away in the directory right when you download the app. You can also preview routes. You're able to look through the directories of each location. So, if you're flying to Austin for Thanksgiving, you can look at the map there and view all 399 points of interest that you can navigate to. So it's a very, very useful, for people who are traveling a lot, for people who are going to visit a university or whatever it might be. You're able to view that remotely from your couch and not have to worry about where you're going to go as soon as you land in Portland or anywhere else.
Awesome. And you shouldn't see GoodMaps Explorer as an option anymore. That's been taken off of the store. You might see GoodMaps Outdoors. And that is just an outdoor navigation only experience. So make sure you're using GoodMaps one word. And then if you're using a screen reader, you'll hear it say indoor navigation, inclusive indoor navigation. And visually, you want to look for that orange and blue and yellow logo that you'll see on the store. And then we've got our Michigan State University video. Anything you want to say before I play that, Kevin?
So there's one that I missed. I told you I wouldn't get to everything. So there's one of our best partners right there is Michigan State University. They've been able to kind of push forward for the more inclusive design. They do have, blind students and things like that, but they also have a lot of deaf individuals in their faculty and staff. And this just shows a little bit of a testimonial of what their experience has been starting with this new application on their campus.
Let me pull that up.
Students navigating with GoodMaps.
Let's see, full screen. Here we go.
Students navigating with GoodMaps.
I'm
Various students speaking.
Sometimes my regular maps app, if I'm just trying to get from one building to another, it won't pick up where
Just a small technical issue. You may need to share your whole screen instead of just the presentation portion.
Oh, there we go. Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Students navigating with good maps. Various students speaking.
Sometimes my like regular Maps app, if I'm just trying to get from like one building to another, it won't pick up where I'm at right away, or it'll think I'm riding a bus and I'm walking still, and it just kind of gets confusing.
Like Google Maps, like you could get to your location, but you can't get to the location inside of that location.
Michigan State University STEM Building. Tyler Smeltikoff, Assistant Director,
We
RCPD.
find that it's very important to be able to provide an inclusive, equitable experience, not just for our students that are registered with our office, but all students. Our latest development now is to work with GoodMaps to provide that wayfinding within a building.
A student navigating with her phone.
I think that's one of the big issues for like a newcomer or like even someone with a disability. Like they have issues like trying to navigate through like this new environment. They don't know where they're going.
Buildings like these that are so big, on my first day of class, I see the room number and I always make sure I get here early, but using GoodMaps, I'd be able to just get here at a normal time and navigate it that way.
Honestly, I don't know if you've been in the engineering building on campus, but it's big, and if you turn the wrong way, you'll get lost forever. And I think GoodMaps would be a good use in that building, because I've been here for a year and I still don't know how to get around the building.
A student walks through the cafeteria and continues navigating down a hallway.
Long had the ability to navigate our students from one building to another, but we just haven't been able to meet our students' needs in terms of being able to help them find their way through a building so they can get from the main entrance, that's an accessible entrance to them, to the class space that they need to be as quickly as possible.
It's a pretty cool experience because personally I have been to STEM building, but I actually have never known like all the rooms here, and it's pretty hard to navigate around. So being like having some assistance is really gonna help me with it, and I believe it's gonna help everyone with like different abilities.
The low vision student navigates a hallway.
I think it is very user friendly. There's a lot of like features that are kind of intuitive, like the arrows that appear. I like that it has like built-in voiceover features.
We have students with visual disabilities that need the instructions to be read aloud to them. We have students with hearing loss that might not prefer to ask for directions. They would like the confidence of knowing the app can get them there. We have students that have mobility issues and use mobility aids, and for them, giving them the confidence of knowing that this is the one path that they need to take, given the effort that can go into moving about the building and wayfinding. All of these things are neatly contained within the GoodMaps experience, and so we're very confident that GoodMaps will be able to be the way forward for Michigan State to bring a better experience in general for all of our students to do what they're here for.
Tyler speaking with a student holding his phone.
It's an easy way to navigate to wherever you're trying to go and pull up good maps. Like I feel like it's just like an everyday use type thing.
I think it was a fun experience, and it could have really helped me a lot in my freshman year where I didn't know what anything is. I think it's a really good app, and it could have a lot of positive impact.
Student arrives at her destination.
GoodMaps is going to be a long partner for MSU and for ICPD. We're really looking forward to what we can do together in the future.
GoodMaps, mapping the future with indoor navigation.
Okay. Kevin, let me go back to the slides, but I think that was our last one.
Believe
Yeah.
so.
Awesome. So, if anybody has any questions, definitely put it in the chat. Kevin, I have quite a few questions for you, and I will also keep a lookout on the chat because I think honestly, with GoodMaps being a little bit smaller, that there could be a lot of questions just about the navigation in general. I know I had a lot when I used it. I've used it a few times. especially at annual meeting when we had you guys in Louisville. And it was very helpful, especially when I first started at APH and I was in my first two weeks and all of a sudden I'm at the annual meeting in this huge hotel and I myself am visually impaired and could not read the signs to get anywhere. And so I use GoodMaps and it helped me get to all of the places I need to be, all of the sessions. So one of the questions that I have for you is if you could share some specific examples of how GoodMaps has impacted accessibility for users with disability in real world settings. Like, have you guys had any success stories or user cases where you've heard great positive feedback or reviews about the product?
Yeah, I can give I'll give one that comes straight to mind is actually my first testing. And this wasn't even with our newest application. It was with our previous GoodMaps Explorer. But one that I always think about is the first person that we ever tested with, or that I ever tested with, was in San Francisco. And it was at our BART station, the rail station at MacArthur. And I was there, you know, be it I was probably on the job for a few weeks at this point, didn't really understand the impact. I knew it could help me, but it didn't really understand that it could help so many other people. And there was a maybe a 6-year-old aged man, and he was a traveler to this station almost every other day. And he had been traveling for years, and he was a blind individual as well. He was able to test with us one of the first couple of the day, and he came back and you know, it sounded like he almost had a tear. He's just like, you know, I always have to ask for assistance. And it meant so much for him to just be able to pick up his phone and go and not have to always depend on someone else. That was, you know, a biggest thing for me 6 years ago when I went from 20/20 vision to basically just light now is the fact that I always had to rely on someone else. You know, we don't get me wrong, I appreciate assistance, I appreciate help and things like that, but losing that independence and it brings your confidence down tremendously. So, you know, there's one person, but you know, as a personal use, you know, I'm able to travel, I don't know, Evelyn, probably the last 2 months I've probably been to maybe 10 cities and I have been able to get off at multiple airports and not ask for assistance, not have to be asked if I need a wheelchair. You know, one day I might need a wheelchair, but I don't yet. And I really enjoy being able to say, I've got it today. You know, some days I need assistance because there's no good maps or you know, another assistive tech nearby. But, you know, being able to have that confidence to just go on your way, like pretend like you're not blind for a little bit, you know, not have to ask for directions at all times and you know go sit down and have lunch and then go to the restroom and then go to the gate at an airport is a game changer instead of just somebody taking you straight to your gate and you're kind of hoping for the best after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I also really hate getting assistance in airports because of the wheelchair situation.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're like, you have to use the wheelchair, and I'm like, I can walk. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
But it seems like a non-negotiable sometimes. So there's always great opportunities to have second alternatives, and of course, assistance takes quite a while to get to you sometimes. So there's always risks involved in having that. Um,
exactly.
Another question I have for you is I know that you talked a little bit about that airports have kind of been a big venue that you guys are looking at and trying to get into, including the airport in Bolivia. But I'm wondering what types of venues have been the most receptive to adopting Good Maps, and also what kind of challenges do you guys face in onboarding new locations?
Now I would say things have, you know, for instance, last week or about a week and a half ago, we were actually in Philadelphia at an inclusive accessibility type of conference for aviation, and I was able to join a panel and speak about my inclusive traveling and things like that. But that's kind of besides the point. The fact is, we were actually we've got multiple calls already booked after that 2-day event and people are really starting to turn the page on you know applications like ours because we are now not just for the blind low vision, we're actually for everyone. And the thing is a lot of these places you know even college campuses for instance, but you know they're a longer process, but some majority, I'd say 80 to 90% of airports have a map already, but it's not accessible and they're probably paying a good amount of money for that anyways. And we're able to now offer, that same map but interactive. Um, and that's another thing that I missed. We actually do offer an interactive map alongside of the application. So that map can go onto the website or things like that of the airport or of the university or of the healthcare system, whatever it might be. So, the more offerings that we're bringing to the table, the more people are willing to listen. And I think that it's really depends on the person, not necessarily even the venue. It's the person. Some people won't even talk to you, but a lot of people are starting to open their ears and really want to have a conversation. I don't know, Evelyn, if you have any that come to mind that are like, we know that rail has been one of our biggest supporters, especially overseas, but I'm not sure who really hasn't wanted to hear about us. I know there's some.
Yeah, I do definitely think it's the person and what type of role they're in. But I will say that really in the transit space, whether that's airports, whether that's transportation groups, rail operators, bus operators, those groups have been extremely receptive and are really trying to improve the accessibility of their systems and networks so that people can travel and get from point A to point B in an accessible fashion. Because I think for those groups, obviously, like Kevin, like you all were saying, they have set up passenger assist mechanisms, but they're not always the best. They may not be trained. They may not even speak English if you only speak English. Like so many variables that are involved in the passenger assist system in the transportation industry, that providing other tools like GoodMaps or IRA or Be My Eyes or, so many things, if they can add the secondary and supplementary services, it helps take the pressure off passenger assist and gives people another option like passenger assist, but enabling the independence. So I think that that's a really big group who have been really receptive in trying to kind of transform the transportation journey, just to be more accessible in general.
Yeah, for sure. That's really great. Um, I'm wondering how you guys address some real-time updates. So that is things like temporary closures or changes in indoor layouts.
Yeah, so it's a mixture of, we're testing out some of the API functionality where, if there's an elevator or escalator that's out, that'll be automatic. But as of right now, we're in, construction schedules are big when it comes to we're scanning a new building or things of that nature. So we try and plan that out as much as possible. And a lot of our buildings, whether it's transit or, education or even retail or whatever it might be, normally know their construction schedules in advance. So we try and plan out whatever that might mean for our rescans or things like that. But also, the studio functionality for the venue itself, they can, do a lot of those edits if things change. As long as it's not a huge construction project, tearing down a lot of walls, things like that, that can be changed pretty quickly.
Okay, so it's something more like on the back end that they can use via like an app or a computer system to say something has changed.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have so they'll have a representative from our team kind of oversee their project. If there's something major that needs to be changed very, soon, or if they even plan it, they can communicate with us and we'll put it on the books to make sure it's done by that certain date. If there's a certain event that is these 3 days, this needs to be closed, we can make sure that happens. But yeah, Studio is a functionality to where they have access on their end where they don't even have to talk to us. And that's really changing the names and editing the points of interest and destinations inside of the venue, not necessarily the changes in actual, tear downs and things like that.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I have two more questions. One is about, I used the Good Maps app when it was the Explorer app. And then obviously this year I've downloaded the new app. And I'm curious, what kind of feedback that you got from some of your blind or low vision users, and how that influenced the new app development.
Yeah, so features wise, as they're coming basically back. Anything that we had on Explore, like look around, it's coming back. Things like that, deep links actually into Be My Eyes, Ira, to where we were completing the journey. Say you're at an airport. I'm just going to keep using airports because they're easy to have an example. But if you're walking into the airport, you use GoodMaps. You want to go to Starbucks. You can pull up, at the end of your route, you will be able to use like Be
Okay.
My Eyes, things like that, to kind of complete that full journey and go straight from our application. But also, a lot of let's be honest, a few years ago, our app was not necessarily where we wanted it to be, right?
Um,
It was not not perfect or, not ideal at all times, but I've actually enjoyed, in a very polite way, kind of correcting people when I'm at conferences and events and things. So I was in Toronto a couple weeks ago, and I'll give a quick story. But there was a gentleman I was having a good conversations with, but he kind of just shut me down on even downloading the app. And I was like, why? And he's like, no, I used it, and it wasn't even Explore. It was our previous before that. And I said, I would love for you to use it and come back and then tell me I'm wrong. And he never came back. He was happy with the functionality because you're able to get your position within seconds. You're able to go on your way, and the accuracy is just so far ahead of the rest, really, that it's been a game changer. And we were able I was actually able to go with our CTO to the NFB conference this past year, and having him there was awesome to be able to hear all the feedback from 2,500 to 3,000 blind individuals. It's just great to be able to hear what they have to say. Our team can listen to me all day as a blind guy, but let's hear everybody else too and see how we align. We're working on verbiage for our app. What's the best case for turn, instead of saying this, say that. What makes sense for the majority? And we also have our researcher who's a professor out of Ball State. She does a great job, testing with all demographics and seeing what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah, that definitely is helpful. I guess, after this webinar, do you guys have any sort of info email that you guys want to share with some of our webinar participants, even some of the later ones that watch this at a later time, to give feedback about the app or to ask questions for you and your team?
Definitely. Yeah, we can send something out, and then also just a couple resources. If past this week or whatnot, if you want to reach out, you can, reach out to community@goodmaps.com is an easy way. And then also I have a Facebook user community that I try to update as much as I can on new venues, new features, where I'm going to be at conferences, and so on and so forth. So if you're on Facebook, that is just GoodMaps, one word, user community. And that's a good way to communicate as well if you'd rather do that instead of email.
Awesome. Well, if we don't have any more questions in the chat, I have
Nope. I think I'll. Did we lose you?
I think we lost.
of your week,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
we
Oh,
will.
there we go.
Oh,
We
was it?
lost you for a second, I think.
Okay, my internet connection, I assume. So it's not perfect, but I was saying that we wanted to obviously thank Kevin and Evelyn for being here today and for sharing some of their insights on GoodMaps and indoor navigation. And we hope that the information has been helpful for all of you, and we hope that you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will see you guys on our next webinar. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Awesome.
all.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.